Hey YouTubers, welcome back. Today we're going to do some more Zend framework, and I'm going to show you how to create a form through Zend framework and the reason why you want to do that. So the first thing is go to your directory inside your console, just cd da 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 da, and wherever it's located is where mine is. And you know where yours is because of the .zf project. And the first thing we're going to do is create a form by typing zf create form, and I'll call this register. At some point we'll tie this all in together, but we need to learn some of the basics in order to use it. And here I am in the forms folder, Zendy application forms, and I have my register file. And this is nothing but a form, just like in HTML, input type equals text, all that kind of stuff. And we create it through here. So these are separate from models and controllers. They're like their own entity, which I think is a really good design decision. Cleans things up. So the first thing to consider is, let me type out a form real quick. In HTML, we have a form action equals the page. The method is post. You should already know this stuff if you're watching. Input type equals text, name equals blah. We're basically going to make one of these. And to get started, what we have to first realize is we have a class that we made called application form register. Okay? And this name looks scary, but I'll break it down for you. If we go to our Zendy folder, first you go to application right here, then you go to form, I guess this one's plural, no big deal, and register, and that's where this is located. If you see something like Zend form, that would be in the Zend library, anything that starts with Zend. And basically what you're doing to find out where a file is or why it's named what it is, you could just replace these with slashes, and they're like directories, like C drive, but we're not really going to do that. So Zend form, we're just going to use this object. So I'll start with this, and this refers to a Zend form, and we're going to add element, and I want to add a text element like this, input type equals text, and then we give it a name. I'll call this one email, and let's add a couple more. Let's do another text field, let's call it login, and this one password. Okay. And I guess one more. I press Control D to duplicate that line, by the way. This will be a submit button, and I'll just say save. Okay. And we have this component just sitting over here, and what we want to do is get it onto this main page. And to do so, we route everything through controllers, right? So over in our controllers, this is going to be the main page, and that would be my index controller. And it would be under index action. Remember, everything ends with action that would be an actual page. So I'll tab over, and what I'm going to do is create a new instance of this form we just made. So I can double click this name because it's a lot to type, and I'll say form equals new application form register. And if I save that, it's not going to do anything right now. Refresh. And plug in by name passwords. What did I do wrong? Whoops. Password. Sorry about that. So it's not going to do anything. We don't see a form because we have to assign it to a view. So we don't want to forget that. So we're going to say this view form equals form. Okay. So now the form will have this instance available. And lastly, I can go over to my views, scripts, index PHTML, and I can do a PHP tag and say echo this form. Now make sure you don't accidentally just say form. You got to do this because we're in an object. And refresh, and you see I have these form fields here. And you might be saying, what's the point of this? I can just type this all by hand. There's some benefits, and I'll show you. It's because it has validation and filters, a lot of good stuff. So if I view the source like this, I have this thing form enc type. How do I set the action and the method? It's actually not that hard, but it is hard to figure out because the documentation's a little scary. To do that, you would say this, set a trib, and the action, we're just going to say, how about save? Okay, and that would be like a URL. It would go to /save. To set the thing to post, if it's not, we can do this, set method to post, and let me refresh this, and you see how it put the action there and it put the post there if it wasn't. For enc type, I think that might be an attribute that you could set. Nevertheless, let's get to the fun part. The text, we have an email here, and what we can do is pass an array with more requirements to this. And I'm also going to show you another way how to do this. So if we want to give it a label, which is a name, we'll say email, and if I refresh, whoops, let me close that, I have a label up here. And don't panic about the layout, that's just a CSS issue, no big deal. You can do things like required, meaning they have to fill this in order to get a valid form post. And I'll say required, whoops, true. And we can do filters, and this would be an array. If we wanted to add some filters like, boy, I don't know any off the top of my head, string trim, that's one. I got a page open by me. Okay, and you can also add validators, and we'll say array, and we want to validate this as an email address. Now you got to get used to these camel cases. They're kind of scary, aren't they? Might want to tab this over. Got to be picky when you code. Okay, so this now has all that stuff to it. If we were to submit the form, it would go to the save, and we'd have to create an action for that like this. Public function save action, and we're not going to do that right now though. I want to show you another way of doing this, so let me go back. You don't have to do this in the array context like that, and another way of doing this is in object context. Whoops, what did I push? Oops, I'm used to being in NetBeans. So here's another way to do it, which I kind of like. I haven't decided yet. I'll say this. Actually, I'll say name equals new Zend form element text, and this will just be called name. And what we can do then is do all the attributes in object context like this. So name, set label, we'll say name, add filter, we can strip tags, we could set required to true. Oops, don't want quotes around that. Oops, how embarrassing. Okay, and I can delete all this stuff. I could do another one. I'll say password equals new Zend form element password, and I'll call that password. It might be a little more typing, I'm not sure, but in my opinion it looks a little cleaner. Set label to password, and let's add filter, I guess strip tags again. I don't know all these filters. Set required to true, and we have a password. And lastly, let's create a submit button. So submit equals new Zend form element submit, submit, and the name will be, I'll just call this sub so that I can show you why. And lastly, submit, and let's just do set label to submit son. And if we were to refresh this, we get nothing. Undefined variable password. Oops, sorry, this is so embarrassing, I keep spelling it wrong. Refresh. Okay, we get nothing, and that's because in the object context of doing this, we have to add it to the Zend form here with this. Remember in our previous example with the arrays, we were using this. we need to do this, add elements, and rather than adding them one by one, we just pop out an array, and I'll say name, password, and submit, and I can refresh, and I have that good there. Now if I view the source, here's the sub element. Input type is submit, name is sub, ID is sub, and that's what goes in right there. So it might look confusing, so go ahead and rewind if you need to. There's a lot of stuff on the internet. Practice, that's all you got to do, and then you'll be like, find out which way you prefer making your forms, and there's a lot more than what I've showed you. So good luck, guys, and thumbs up if you like it. Thanks for watching.